Hey, BookTube Sean here, coming to you with my week in books, and this week it's a 2 week my weeks in books because I didn't have one go up last week, which I'd let you guys know that a couple weeks ago. I went to a convention and just didn't have the time to film last weekend. So I'll be covering 2 weeks, which actually really I've only gotten 2 books read in those 2 weeks. But first off, I want to say a big thank you to Paul Reed's and ChallengeThyShelf. Both of those channels gave me really nice mentions over the past week. So thank you both for that, and everybody go check out their channels. Paul reads a lot of horror and a lot of various stuffs, and he also does some author spotlight videos, which I think is really cool. And I will link his channel down below. And ChallengeThyShelf is a channel that I have come across recently in the past couple of weeks, and I think she's great. She has this eloquent way of talking about the books she's reading that I really enjoy, and I think everybody should go and check her out. Both those channels will be linked in the description box, and thank you both for the kind words you've said about my channel in the past couple of weeks. So let's get into my week in books. I finished 2 books over the past couple of weeks. Over the past week, I haven't had a ton of reading time, and also just haven't felt like reading. I've felt like watching TV, especially the past couple of days. But I finished In the Valley of the Sun by Andy Davison, which was the buddy read I was doing with Stephanie at That's What She Read. That is a horror novel, and I don't want to give too much away about it. Saying what kind of horror novel it is will give something away of the novel that I was pleasantly surprised to find out as I was reading it. So I don't want to say too much about it. I did really enjoy it, except that I enjoyed it up to the end, and the end wasn't bad. It just, to me, didn't live up to the rest of the book, and I found myself going, that was it. But think of Stephanie kind of described it as very True Detective feel. I didn't see True Detective, but her describing it that way led me to No Country for Old Men, which I haven't read the book, but I've seen the movie, and I love the movie. So it's got that very kind of dusty feel to it. It takes place in Texas, and like I said, I don't want to really say too much about what the horror aspect of it is, because that gives away something that I was really pleasantly surprised by. So like I said, yeah, I'm hesitant to say too much about it, but it is definitely worth reading. And that was the final book I needed to read for the first novel award winners for the Bram Stoker. So of those first novel award nominees. So of those first novel award nominees, they were In the Valley of the Sun by Andy Davison, What Monsters Fear by Robert. I should have pulled this up. I just all of a sudden decided that I was going to list those as I was recording. So I apologize for the little needing to look something up here. But yeah. Just as I was recording, I said, "Oh, we're going down this road." Okay. And okay, they were In the Valley of the Sun by Andy Davison, What Do Monsters Fear by Matt Hayward, The Boulevard Monster by Jeremy Hepler, Kill Creek by Scott Thomas, and Cold Cuts, who was by Robert Payne Cabine, which was the winner. Of those 5 books, my favorites were Kill Creek and the winner, Cold Cuts. And I would say of the remaining 3, In the Valley of the Sun would come in about third. The Boulevard Monster, and then What Do Monsters Fear. Kill Creek was my favorite of the bunch, but Cold Cuts was a deserving winner. I feel that's the one I described as Radioactive Mutant Penguins. It was a very fun book and deserving of the win. I'm not upset that won over Kill Creek. So that's it. That is my assessment of the Bram Stoker Award first novel category for this past Bram Stoker Awards. Now I'm going to start going into the award winners from the past years. I think it's 1997 up to currently. First novel winners. 1987 up to currently. So that's going to take me some time. I'm not going to get that done this year, but that is definitely something I will be working on. I have read 2 of them. I've read Cold Cuts, obviously, and I've also read Heart-Shaped Box by Joe Hill, which is great. If you guys haven't read Heart-Shaped Box by Joe Hill, it's a great, fun ghost story. So definitely check that out. That was his debut novel. So those are the only 2 of the list that I have read. So what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start reading them, and I'm probably going to do a review series for the first novel award winners. And if you saw my recent Shirley Jackson Awards video that I posted on Friday, I'm also going to be reading through the nominees for novel and novella, as much of them as I can get to by the time the winners announced in July. And then it's a short list because the award's only been around since 2007, so I also want to read the award winners from the Shirley Jackson Award, which I can get access to all of them. So I think that's going to be two review series that are going to be going on the channel, is Bram Stoker first novel and Shirley Jackson Award winners, plus the Shirley Jackson Award nominees for this year for novel and novella. So definitely got some content ideas coming up here. The second book I finished the audio book of I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara. I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara, which is the true crime novel about the Golden State Killer, or also known as the East Area Rapist or the original Night Stalker. They're all the same killer. And what's exciting is, just as I was getting into this book, they arrested a suspect in this over 40-year-old unsolved crime. So exciting things going on in that case, that even though the police won't admit it, Michelle McNamara's book and her ideas in that book on how to go about catching him led the police to a suspect and an arrest. So even though the police will never admit that the book led to that, it did. Once you finish the book, you know that her idea on how to do this is what ultimately led the police to a suspect. So really exciting things, and it was a really good book. I'd be weary of it on audio if you have trouble keeping track of timelines that bounce back and forth on audiobook. I got used to it, so I was able to follow it. But because Michelle McNamara passed away before the book was finished, a couple of people, including her husband Patton Oswalt, had to kind of finish her work from her notes and put the book into a publishable form. So it definitely has that feel to it, and it definitely notates when this is from her research on this thing. So when it was put together and not written straight out by her. But definitely worth a read, especially with the ongoing saga now of having caught a suspect. So I definitely think this is the time to check out this book if you haven't. I know it's all over BookTube right now and all over the book community right now, but for good reasons and for exciting reasons. Because it's cool to read knowing that there's a suspect and there's going to be a trial. So I really think this is the perfect time to check out this book. Anyway, that's what I've read. What I'm currently reading, I got, as always, a few things. I'm slowly working on Tales from a Talking Board, edited by Rossi Lockhart from Word Horde Press. I'm a couple stories into it. Really, literally a couple stories into it. I'm on the third story. The first story was Yes, No, Goodbye by Christy DeMeester, which was fantastic. Really, really good story by Christy DeMeester. And The Devil and the Bugle Boys by J.M. McDermott, which was okay. It wasn't the greatest Ouija board story I've ever read. Wasn't the worst. Not that I've read a lot of Ouija board stories, but it definitely paled in comparison to Christy DeMeester's story, I'll tell you that. But I have that going on. I am a couple chapters into my best friend's exorcism. This is really good so far. Like I said, I just haven't had a ton of time or felt like reading lately, so otherwise I'd be much deeper into this. And if you don't know, this is about two childhood best friends, and one of them gets possessed. And it's set in the 80s, and it has a lot of cool 80s references and 80s fun. And the thing, I showed you guys the front cover in several videos last week. I never showed you guys the back cover. The back cover still keeps that old VHS theme. It's really cool. Like they put a couple of scenes on like if it were a movie. So I love this cover. But I've also been working on The Czar of Love and Techno by Anthony Mara. This is a historical fiction short story collection, but the short stories are all tied together by one thing. I mentioned that it was a painting. I'm less sure that it's tied to... Getting into the second story now, I'm less sure that it's tied together by the painting or the subject of that painting. But there is a common thread among the short stories, and it takes place between like 1937 and current day Russia. And so far, the writing is fantastic. I'm really enjoying this, and when I pick it up, I just can't put it down when I pick it up. Now, the other thing I started reading is Stephanie and I started another buddy read. We're reading the Elementals by Michael McDowell. That has made the rounds a little bit on horror booktube, on the booktubers that read horror. I'm trying to pull up a description for you guys. Again, just like most Sundays, I get home from something and I sit down, and that's when I have the time to record. I was lucky I even got the books together. But The Elementals by Michael McDowell, and it is after a bizarre and disturbing incident at the funeral of matriarch Marion Savage, the McCrae and Savage families look forward to a restful and relaxing summer at Beldame on Alabama's Gulf Coast, where three Victorian houses loom over the shimmering beach. Two of the houses are habitable, while the third is slowly and mysteriously being buried underneath an enormous dune of blindingly white sand. But though long uninhabited, the third house is not empty. Inside, something deadly lies in wait. Something that has terrified Dauphin Savage and Lucre McCrae since they were boys, and which still haunts their nightmares. Something horrific that may be responsible for terrible and unexplained deaths years earlier and is now ready to kill again. And you guys know, if you've been watching my channel, that I like haunted house stories. I really like haunted house stories. And I've heard nothing but good things about this book, and I've been wanting to read it for almost a year since I first heard about it, and I finally broke down and bought it on Kindle. I was waiting to try and find a used paperback of it or or something, and I just never find one. So it finally came down to a price I was comfortable with on Kindle. So I went ahead and picked it up, and Stephanie had just bought it with her birthday money, so now we're reading it. I'm only about 6 chapters into it right now. I think she's a little ahead of me right now, but I'm enjoying it so far. Where I'm at, they just got to the houses, so I haven't gotten into... There's been a couple of creepy things that happened already, though, even not at the houses, so I'm excited to see where this goes. And the other book, one of the other books I started, I still have 12 Kings and Sherikai going on. I still have Song of Achilles going on. I just don't pick those up a lot, just because I haven't been in the mood for them a lot. Let me check my currently reading on Goodreads. Oh, I also started Breaking the World by Jerry Gordon, which is a horror novel that takes place inside the Koresh compound in Waco, Texas. Takes place during the 53 or 57 day standoff at the Koresh compound from the Branch Davidians, which I remember happening. So I'm interested to see how this author tackles a horror novel set during that and from inside the compound. So that's going to be interesting. I'm about 20% of the way through that. So far, it's an adult horror novel, but it's reading like a YA. So when I pick it up, it reads pretty quickly. But again, I just haven't been reading a lot the past week. But the other thing I started, I'm a couple chapters in, and it is the winner of the Viewer's Choice TBR, and that is Space Opera by Catherine M. Valente. This is what you guys picked. This won by 1 vote against Pride and Prometheus by John Kessel, who commented on the video. I was really surprised by that. He commented and, of course, voted for Pride and Prometheus. But I'm a couple chapters into this. It seems fun, but so far the writing I'm not gelling with. So we'll see how this goes. It doesn't seem like her normal beautiful prose. That I haven't read a book by her, but I've started a couple of books of hers, just read a chapter or two to see if I was in the mood for it at that time. And her other books that I've picked up just in that vein have been a much more beautiful style prose than what this is. This one's kind of jarring, and I'm not sure how this is going to go yet. I hope I get into the flow, because it seems like a fun idea. Now let's get into the haul portion, since I'm already almost 18 minutes into this video. I've picked up a few things, a couple library books. Another book I started, but it's part of the haul portion. I got Carrie Byron from the Mythbusters new memoir, Crash Test Girl. I'm really excited about this. She was probably my favorite person on the Mythbusters series. So I'm really excited to read this, because she doesn't come from a science background. Like, she ended up on what became a science show, and she doesn't come from a science background. And I think it's going to be really interesting to read how she got into that world and how she's applied that now to her own life. So I'm really excited about that. My Book of the Month Club picks this month were The Mars Room by Rachel Kushner and Still Lives by Maria Hummel. I don't know a ton about this one. I read the description on the website, but I don't really remember much about it. I don't want to take the time to read it right now because I'm running long. But this one I know is a mystery about an artist that goes missing. And it sounded cool, and I love the cover. So those are my Book of the Month Club picks. I got a couple more old paperback horror novels. A guy on Facebook was selling some zebra horror paperbacks, so I got The Night Stone by Rick Hautala. I don't really know much about it, but I just loved the cover, so I'll check that out sometime. And I got another Ruby Jean Jensen book called Night Thunder. This is one of her later books. It was actually written in the 90s. And I'm hoping I get into Ruby Jean Jensen because I'm picking up her books are kind of rare and get costly in the paperback, kind of what this would become like the paperbacks from hell world now. So I'm hoping I get into her and can find more of her books for a lower cost. I got some great book mail from Word Horde. Just showed up in my mailbox. I was not expecting it. I did not ask for it, but I'm really happy to have it. It is Corpse Paint by David Peake, and this is a book about a black metal band who goes to, I think it's New Zealand, somewhere over there, to the Ukraine. They go to the Ukraine to record a comeback album, kind of along with another black metal band. And this other black metal band is into some deep stuff, some deep demonology stuff. And so it kind of combines my love of metal with my love of horror. So I'm really excited that I got this in the mail. And thank you, Word Horde, for sending this to me. I really appreciate it. And then, just real quick, I got a couple of library books. One I've already mentioned in the Shirley Jackson video. This is Ill Will by Dan Chowan. Still don't know how to pronounce this name. And this is one of the nominees for Best Novel of the Shirley Jackson Awards. And I read the description in that video. So go ahead and if you want to know more about this book, check out the Shirley Jackson Award nominees video, and I will link that in the description. And the final book I picked up from the library is Koji Suzuki's Ring. This is the novel that launched the horror movie franchise, and I actually haven't seen the movie, so I'm really interested to read the book because I'm going into it not having seen the movies. So I think that'll be an interesting perspective to go into these. Some other people I know that have read these came to it after having seen the movies. So I'm interested to go into it not already knowing it as a visual medium. So that's it. That's my weekend books. I got one or two other videos coming up this week. Hopefully, one I talked about in my Shirley Jackson video, because it's the one I meant to record, not the Shirley Jackson one. But I'm gonna do a kind of year up to end of April, like first third of the year favorites video, and talk about some of the things that I've been enjoying up to the end of April that are not books, that are movies and TV and things of that sort. Just to let you guys a little bit further into the kinds of things I like and enjoy. And then I'm going to start doing those monthly after that. So I'm not going to go into anything that's kind of come up in May so far because I want to save that for the May favorites video. And then I'm also going to have the next books I want to read this year video going up, which I think is going to be the series I want to finish this year. Which probably won't end up happening. The video will, but me finishing the series probably won't. So one or both of those will also go up this week. One definitely probably on Wednesday, maybe one on Friday. But yeah, so that's it. That's my weekend books and some exciting, what I think are exciting video possibilities coming up soon. So hopefully you guys do too. Thank you to all my subscribers. If you're new to my channel, and I know there are some new subscribers lately, welcome. I'm happy to have you here. If this is your first video, I'd love to have you stick around. Hit the subscribe button so you know when I make new videos, and I'll see you all in the next video.